Cinema Smack contains spoilers of the spoiling type. If you don't want your spoilers spoiled, please turn back now. Otherwise, enjoy the show!
Hello, Cinesmackers, and welcome back to the podcast about films by filmmakers. I'm your host, Mike Keeler, and joining us as usual is Judge Number One, owner of One Genome Short Productions, Mr. Gabriel Rowald.
Good evening, folks.
Our second judge of the night is owner of Cheshire Moon Films, Mr. Tom Haggis.
Ni hao, asshats.
And returning this month, Judge Number 3, owner of Outpost 515 Productions, Mr. Samuel Pace-Twamy. Okay, that one might be a little too far.
Maybe. That was it. But I wanted to mention that mine was dubbed.
Yes, it was. I was trying to figure out a way that I could make us sound like we were dubbed, but it's a little hard to pull off in an audio format. All right, well, welcome back, Sam.
Hey, thanks.
Hopefully your sabbatical was lovely.
Yeah, short walkabout this time, but I'm ready to go.
All right. Well, let's poke the monkey and get it going.
Ladies and gentlemen, pacifists and protagonists, welcome to the main event! Tonight, two martial arts legends come together for Mortal Kombat! Actually, they'll both be fine. In the first corner, from 1971, directed by Lo, starring Bruce Lee, Maria Yee, and James Tien, Big Boss. In the second corner, from 1983, directed by Jackie Chan and Sammo Hung. Starring Jackie Chan, Sammo Hung, and Biao Yuan. Project A.
All right, so our first round that is up will be writing.
I kind of feel like it's difficult to evaluate writing in this particular category. And my thought is these films, well, there's an old adage that every film is, I guess the adage is that every film is made three times. Once during writing, once during shooting, and once during editing. But in this case, I think these movies are made one additional time. Because the versions that I watched, I don't know which ones you watched, the versions I watched were dubbed.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so I think that makes some difficulty in the writing, because the whole time I was wondering how much is lost in translation here.
A lot.
Yeah, not only in the writing category, but also in some of the subsequent categories, the acting and that kind of thing. But so I find it difficult to evaluate these from a writing standpoint, because it's like, well, is this a result of the first writing, or is it a result of the writing for the English dubbing of these movies? So I find it really difficult to evaluate these. I don't know how you guys feel about it.
For the writing, I kind of took more of a story approach, what the story they were trying to tell, and I threw the dialogue out because I didn't want to dock somebody because of some lazy subtitlist. And I actually watched it, the dubbed version with the subtitles on.
So did I.
And it's hilarious because they match, but there were times when the people who were writing the subtitles weren't exactly sure what they had. So there were like question marks and parentheses,
or
like
indistinguishable,
or
really
like parts where they had like left notes, like I think he says pan.
Yes.
And it was just like
that made it into the final version.
That made it in the version on Netflix. There's these like question marks in parentheses. Like I'm not really. I think this is what he says. But as far as the story goes, I feel like The Big Boss is kind of a classic Patrick Swayze movie. It wasn't a big departure from Roadhouse or any one of those movies where the kid comes in from out of town and stumbles upon the crime syndicate, and and Project A had a little bit more of a comedy twist to it. But where did they not have OSHA in Hong Kong?
No, no, not at all.
Jesus Christ, is that how they cut the ice and the fish? There are no guards on it or anything. That was horrible.
And those people did not seem worried about being anywhere near that blade.
No.
Not even when they were not about to be cut in half. They were just not scared of it at all.
And they didn't. They weren't what I'd call skilled workers either. I mean,
No.
they're really upset about this old Wang who had gone missing before the movie.
I know.
Well, I thought it was interesting when reading some of the notes, especially about Big Boss. Like, it felt weird to me. It felt like stuff was missing, and come to find out, like, I don't know much about martial arts films. It's not really my area, but Big Boss, I guess, used to have a lot more really bloody scenes in them.
Yes.
That were cut after they were showed in Hong Kong. So when they did that, they cut out a lot of other scenes to keep the pacing of the film out. And if you look at, I think IMDb or Wikipedia, it goes to this whole list of things that were cut out after the Hong Kong edit. And it's like, it's a totally different feel to the movie. Like, do you see more people getting like cut in half with a circular saw and like just artery cuts with huge blood spewing? Like, I would have loved to have seen that. I think it changes the film in some way. And Gabe, you're right. It goes to that point of, by the time we get this film, it's so processed and over-processed from audio and visual point and cuts. It's hard to base anything on the original work that was intended or was originally seen by the original audience.
Right. Now, one thing that I think we can attribute to the original writing, because it appears so many times, even in kind of a reprocessed version of The Big Boss, is that I felt like they kind of overdid the whole thing. Like, oh, don't get into a fight. Remember that locket. Don't get into a fight. Remember that locket.
Oh, they really
look at
hammered
the locket.
it home.
Don't get into a fight.
Yep.
They just overdid that a little bit too much for me. And it's like, okay, I get it. I would have liked a little more background on why this was such a problem for him. Like, is he, prone to violence?
I can tell you.
Why are we so worried that this guy's going to get into a fight? And I just felt like they kind of like hammered that just a little bit too much in The Big Boss. It's like, okay, I get it. He's trying to stay out of trouble, but trouble's going to come find him, and he's going to have to deal with it. I get it. You don't have to tell me again. So, and that's one thing I think that we can reliably attribute to the original, writing process. That was just one of my kind of like criticisms of The Big Boss, personally.
Well, right. I mean, you don't watch kung fu movies necessarily for the writing. I mean, you're going there because they're kung fu films, and you're wanting to watch kung fu, or you're wanting to watch stunts, if you're wanting to watch a Jackie Chan film. And I agree with Tom, where Project A had some comedical elements put into it, and I don't know if the script called for it, but it was there. Like you said, that could have been the second edit of the film, is when they were shooting. Jackie Chan's well known for putting a little bit of comedy into his films. And
really, I never get that from anything that I watch of him.
Really?
I'll save that for
sarcasm.
For me, I would have to go from just the story standpoint. And you're right. I mean, The Big Boss was every 80s movie ever made, as far as action films are concerned. There are the Schwarzenegger, the Stallone, the Patrick Swayze, the Van Dammes. It kind of all fits right in there. And I mean, that's kind of how action films got their start, was through the kung fu movies. Very tried and true formula. I think we've exhausted the discussion on writing for these two films. So let's go ahead and put it to a vote. Gabe.
Well, I felt like I said, there were certain things that were just maybe a little bit too overt, kind of too in your face in The Big Boss. So I think By a process of elimination, I have to go with Project A.
All right, Tom.
Yeah, I'm gonna go Project A because I thought the gun running plot was a little bit more thought out than the Big Boss, which is just go talk to the boss and get killed,
Exactly.
until someone does that doesn't die.
Wouldn't you figure out whenever they said go talk to the big boss, you're like, no, I'm not going.
Yeah,
I'm not going to see him.
When they send him up there and like, well, we'll just sit out here and wait.
Yeah,
and like he's probably dead.
Sam.
No, he went to America to find a young bride, or wherever they went. Where did he go?
They kept wanting young brides too. Did you notice that? Sam.
Big Boss.
Big Boss.
Boss.
I think Sam just flipped a coin. All right. Well, I promised I would tell you, Gabe. While not mentioned in the film, a few books released in the 70s at the time of the film of The Big Boss's release mentioned that Chang Chao An was forced to make his promise to his mother after his father was killed in a fight. In order to continue the family name, Chang's mother wanted to make sure he would not fall to the same fate and that he'd live to raise his own family. So there you go.
Do we know? Did he?
I don't know.
I don't know. But he sure thought about it a lot.
Yes, he did. Yes, he did.
And that guy, was that his uncle? Who was the guy that was
his uncle.
the old man who came with him to
Made sure he told him a few times.
Yeah, he mentioned it a couple of times.
Just a couple in
Don't
passing.
get into a damn fight.
All right, let's move on to second round, which is acting.
Acting, for me, this is an easy category. I make no secret that I don't really enjoy Jackie Chan. I know a lot of people enjoy his work, and I don't discount his passion for what he does and how he fits in the filmmaking world. But I don't want to watch him for 10 minutes. I don't want to watch him for 2 hours. I certainly don't want to watch him in a series of movies. So when you go to Bruce Lee, and you especially talk acting in a film that wasn't supposed to be a starring vehicle for Bruce Lee, but his power, his on-screen prowess just comes across naturally, and I think that's to me what the issue here is with acting. I think Bruce Lee, not necessarily the delivery of the words, but also the action with his body, which is in some way these fight sequences are an expression of that, and not to discount the physicality of Jackie Chan. But to me, I would just rather watch Bruce Lee. And I think when it comes to acting and even the supporting characters around him, there's a lot of really shallow characters. And they may be hokier, some would say, in The Big Boss, but that's what I enjoyed more. It's like, to me, it wasn't really much of a contest.
Sam, you be tripping.
I'm not tripping.
You be straight up tripping. I think Bruce Lee has like one move. Okay, somebody wrongs him. They overcharge him for waxing his car or forgets to put pickles on his burger, and he whips his head around and the crash zoom, and it's like, okay, we get it. He's mad. Like
sure,
if
but
Bruce Lee,
your ass, he would kick Jackie Chan's ass if they got in a fight. Like if they would smack it up, I put my money on Bruce Lee any day.
No way. And Jackie Chan would do it with flair and hilarity, and
he would do it some pratfall and then like make his stupid ass shit-eating grin, and it's like, oh, I'm Jackie Chan, okay?
Wow. Wow.
No, I don't want that to be interpreted as an Asian thing. It's just I don't like Jackie Chan.
Wow.
Well, you won me over.
Whoa.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure that acting is really the prowess of any of these films. We don't, again, kind of like for the writing, we don't really watch these films for the acting per se. We watch them for the physicality. We watch them for the fights. We watch them, for the spectacle of it. But I'm not sure that acting really stands out for any of them. And there's so many of them where the acting is so bad. The worst part. Well, I don't know. I don't know why this would be the worst part. But like one of the worst actors to me was the British character in Project A.
Which one?
I just thought he was terrible.
Which one? The general?
Yeah, the main guy
Yes.
who's yeah, I just thought he was absolutely terrible. And I'm like, really? I mean, Jackie I don't hate Jackie Chan, as much as Sam does. But, I've never really thought he's like an outstanding actor. He's incredible in the physical things that he can do and his fearlessness in doing them. But he's not really a great actor. But he was definitely better than that guy. Like one English speaking actor in the whole thing. He was he was just terrible. And yeah, I'm not sure that we watch these movies for the acting. And there's a reason. And again, there's certain people who I think are become legends over time, and I sometimes question why. And Bruce Lee would be one of them. It's like, okay, I get it. Yeah, he's really good at martial arts. I guess he was kind of halfway decent acting wise. I mean, he outshined, I think, everybody else in that particular film, but I didn't think he was like really outstanding as an actor. And I always wonder how these people reach this mythical status.
Because they die very very early.
Yeah, that's got to be the only thing. We don't get to see them like fail in the future or something. And so now they they reach a certain point and then they never come down from that. And I'm sorry to Amanda, Mike, but I felt the same with people like Marilyn Monroe and Elvis and all these people. It's like, why are these people so mythical? And Bruce Lee falls into that category. I mean, how many movies did he really do that anybody saw? A handful. And was he really that great of an actor? Was he really superior as a martial artist than anybody we've seen today? I don't know. And maybe, correct me if I'm wrong. Please help me with that because I don't understand it.
Tom, you want to take a shot at this?
No, I'm not going to go anywhere near that. But I mean, no, because I can feel the Bruce Lee mafia coming after you right now. So he's over there, officer.
Oh God.
I mean, I think the acting was, really kind of abysmal in terms of traditional acting in both of them. They weren't, anything to write home about. I thought the voice of what was his name? Sam Lopao.
Yes.
Yes. I was watching it. I'm like, oh my God, is that Mickey Rourke? And I really wasn't that far off because it was Danny Trejo.
Oh, you took my trivia.
Tough. I knew I did.
Really?
I was like, hey, both of these guys were in Robert Rodriguez movies. So
yes.
I'm pretty sure Mike's going to mention it, so I'm going to steal your thunder. So sorry. But his voice was so crystal clear. I'm like, I swear it was Mickey Rourke.
Yep.
But no, what do you do about the acting in a movie like this? And in my opinion, I think when I put them up side by side, I have to go with comedy because comedy's hard. And, Project Day still makes me laugh, 30 plus years after it came out.
Okay, I'll try and answer Gabe's question. As far as Bruce Lee is concerned, there were certain points in some of his films where they actually had to turn the speed down because he was moving too quick. Like he's just lightning fast. And I agree with you. His acting is not the greatest. I mean, he is there because of what he can do, not how he can pretend to do it. And just from years of studying martial arts, like you just look up to this guy that was so quick, had, the 4-finger punch, if you know what that is, where you put it on and he could knock someone over. I mean, he was just raw power. And I agree with you. The reason that like Bruce Lee, Marilyn Monroe, Elvis Presley, Kurt Cobain, all these people that leave us too soon, the reason that they become legends is because they're remembered for when they were at their peak. They're not remembered for when later on when they're struggling to like remake themselves,
Right, but even at that point though, if people that lived would have achieved what all of those artists that you had mentioned had, the height of their success, even if they died or never recaptured it again, you can't discount the touchstone they became to the society.
Well, no, that's a good point. That's a valid point. But what I'm saying is, in a lot of people's minds, that could be the reason.
Sure.
But as far as Jackie Chan's concerned, I absolutely love Jackie Chan. I love the fact that he is one of the greatest martial artists in the world and throws comedy into his bits. I mean, he studied with some circus. I can't remember everything, but I mean, from a little child, he was in the circus. That's how he learned to do all this stuff. And Bruce Lee created a martial art. Jackie Chan embraced multiple martial arts. Like he knows how to do a lot of what us Westerners call kung fu, but they're all different schools. There's, drunken style, there's snake style, there's wushu, which is what I studied. And he knows how to incorporate all those into his fights. And he's a perfectionist. I mean, you're talking about a guy that will take 20, 30 takes of the same fight just so he and the stuntmen that are fighting him can get it right and get it perfect. And as far as the whole acting thing is concerned, we also have to think about the dubbing, because most Hong Kong action movies, especially kung fu movies, were recorded without sound. So they actually go in and redub it in their native language as they would for us. So that also gets
ADR right off the bat.
Yeah, ADR right off the bat. And
which makes sense with that kind of action scene.
But for me,
if there's any kind of dialogue over the action,
right,
you're never going to catch it.
Right. And for me, there's no one that can put action and comedy together better than Jackie Chan. I love to watch him on screen. And I know that there's multiple takes, like the clock tower, he fell 3 times. They actually shot that scene 3 times when he falls off the clock tower. They showed 2 in the film. And you're talking about someone that's broken his neck, broken his back, almost every bone in his body just for his craft. He looks up to Buster Keaton. He looks up to Charlie Chaplin. Like those, and it shows. Like he can make the faces, he can make the gestures and everything without even having to say anything, and you laugh about it.
So, and how much of it, obviously he's skilled in martial arts, but how much of it, is martial arts and how much of it is actually just kind of stunt work?
Oh, a lot of it's stunt work.
Because falling from a tower.
That's not martial arts.
That's not martial arts. No. That's just like, okay, fearlessness and, stunt work kinds of things. And
yeah. And that's where the whole traveling with that circus helped him. That's where he learned how to take the falls. I mean, he learned everything he knows mostly through doing that. And I'll look it up while we discuss the next topic. But that's my 4 cents about the kung fu genre. I really love it. I enjoy watching it. And so Jackie Chan's the main reason.
Do we know why they showed that fall twice?
I think they
clearly different. I mean, they were very clearly different. Why did we see it 2 times?
I'm guessing they just showed it just to show they did it twice. And the third one you can actually see during the credits.
And you know what? I had read that, and I realized now that I missed it. But did anyone during that first fall, when he landed, basically
on his neck?
Yeah. Did anybody else just like cringe and think, oh my God, how is he still alive?
Exactly. Yeah.
That should have been his last movie.
That should have been. There's a lot of stunts that he's done that should have been his last movie. There's one called Armor of the Gods where he jumps from a wall into a tree and he misses and falls, and the tree limb goes down with him and goes right into his head.
Yikes.
Should have been dead there. Yeah, it's amazing what that man has put his body through and has lived to be, how old is he now? I'm looking it up.
Well, and I wonder, should we admire that or not? It's kind of like the Jackass guys. It's like,
Oh,
Those
I
guys are crazy,
admire
but it's like, wow, it's remarkable some of the stuff that they do. But I'm like, do I have admiration?
I mean, in the life of CG, in the world of CG now, I admire the
Yeah.
hell out of it.
Sure.
Sure. Well, I think everyone finds a little bit something different. Like I would rather watch the Jackass guys as far as because not only of some of the stuff they do, but also because their personalities are more engaging. I mean, we could sit here and Mike and talk about Jackie Chan for the next 45 minutes.
Ooh, let's do that.
It's not going to change a goddamn thing.
You don't want to hear me do that.
Cool. But I just hope we don't talk about it for 45 more fucking minutes because I'll throw up.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah,
Once again, glad Sam's back.
I want to get that on tape if we do, though.
If Sam throws up, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right.
I won't throw up.
Would anyone like to add anything else? Nope. All right. Let's vote on it. Sam.
Big Boss.
All right. Tom.
Shallow Grave. Wait. Sorry. Wrong page.
Wrong month.
Yeah, Big Boss.
For acting, huh?
Acting.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's a tough one. I'm going to go Project A.
All right. Okay. Now that I've moved all my trivia around, let's see. In rehearsal for the clock tower fall inspired by Safety Last, Chan took a week to build the courage to drop from such a great height. During the shooting of the bicycle chase sequence, one of the stuntmen informed Chan that E.T. the extraterrestrial was playing at the local cinema. Chan halted filming to watch the bicycle chase scene in the finale of E.T. to ensure that his scene and Steven Spielberg's scene were not the same, which is funny now because you look at both of them and they're totally different. After watching the film, Chan became more confident, realizing the audience doesn't really care so much about such minor details, only in watching the film and having a good time. According to his book, I Am Jackie Chan, Chan injured his neck while filming the scene. There you go. All right, let's move on to our third round, which is directing.
First of all, was there something going on where Bruce Lee was like attracted to his cousin? Because I was really unsure of that in the Big Boss.
Yeah, because he keeps calling her cousin.
Yeah, and they kept looking at each other, and I'm like, dude, your cousin.
I'm glad you said that. I totally forgot about that.
Okay, that's something the director should have caught. Also, something that's, the 70s and early 80s, something that I just absolutely hate, and it happens in TV and movies, is zooming. I absolutely I hate zooming so much. There's so many TV shows that I can't watch anymore. Misfits of Science, if anybody remembers that show. And Great American Hero. I hate zooming so much. It's like they figured out, it's like Jeff Goldblum from Jurassic Park. You were so concerned about whether or not you could, you didn't stop to think if you should.
Anyone that quotes Jurassic Park is good in my book.
Good.
Thank you very much. I've actually been working on it.
Tom.
Dropping the JP. And the other thing, has anyone on either of these movies ever gotten a bloody nose? Because the blood was a little orange for me. Maybe it's a Chinese thing. Maybe it's where orange chicken comes from. I don't know. But it was the
I'm not
wrong.
sure we're going to be able to air this episode.
I'm not sure either.
It was the wrong color, and
I know, especially in the Big Boss when he comes back home to find all those people
murdered
in the, and I'm like, oh my god, that stuff is like day glow colors.
Yeah, it's like it's like a Syracuse art project gone bad. It's like, well, I must be fine because this can't possibly be my blood.
Right.
So my note on that just says blood WTF ?
Oh yeah, it stuck out like a sore thumb. I mean, it's like watching the old westerns, from the U.S. and people get shot and there's no blood, there's no anything. They just, grab where they were shot and they fall down. It's just as distracting as that.
And I'm not saying that they need to go all Tarantino and like spray the cameras with, dark red goodness, but there's a color. I can't believe the prop guy didn't look at it and go, "This isn't blood." But you know, it was so fakey that I let my 2-year-old look over my shoulder for the last 5 minutes of the Big Boss because I'm like, this is so fake, it's not going to do any damage to you.
Yeah.
So,
Well, do you think at any point that was a technical thing as far as what might show up on film?
That could have been. I mean, that it also.
There's got to be an explanation. Right?
You also have to remember it's a different culture, and during the time that, well,
blood's a different color,
right? Their blood's a different color. No, but during that time, the British still had rule over the Commonwealth. You know, so I don't know what kind of, you know, like we have the MPAA or whatever it's called. You know, there could have been something about you can't show the true color of blood. I don't know. I'm just making shit up out of my ass. So I agree with you totally. The blood, I was like, wait a second. I mean, during the final fight, there was a shot where Bruce Lee came around and there was just a blood smear where there was supposed to be a cut.
Yeah.
And then I noticed the next cut of his back, someone had fixed it. But I mean, they're kung fu movies. Sorry, go ahead.
And I don't remember the part where the guy gets a hatchet in his back.
Oh,
and
God, yeah.
there's like, you can see the block of wood.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, there's a big lump under there. It was a tumor.
It was so bad.
I got an axe in my tumor.
You know, the one thing I'll say for Project A, at least they were able to look at it and go, hey, let's keep it easy on the blood just so that we don't have to use that, you know, that bright orange stuff left over from the Bruce Lee movies.
Right.
Right. They got a shit ton of that stuff. I don't want to use it.
I mean, maybe they saw it as distracting and they're like, let's find a way around it. And they were creative. I'm just making stuff up as well. So.
Well, and did anybody find the editing of Big Boss a little abrupt?
Oh, yeah. But I think Sam hit it on the nose when he said that it had been, you know, cut to shit.
Yeah, but still, I think just even some transitions between scenes. I mean, I realize that maybe parts of it were cut and that maybe the story or the pacing in some way were altered that way. But I felt like a lot of the scenes, you know, I'm all for good pacing. Like, don't linger on anything longer than you have to.
Oh, Jesus, they did that.
Oh, yeah.
But actually, there were times when I felt like, okay, that cut too soon. It's like this thing ended and all of a sudden abruptly, oh, here we are at this next shot. Like, oh, what happened? You know? And maybe they lingered on the wrong things and didn't linger long enough on the important things or something. But I just felt like the editing was really strangely abrupt in the Big Boss.
I think it's a mix of everything, especially because you go from, I think, the original running time, 100 minutes to the 87 minutes that we watched.
Sure.
But it was hacked. It looked weird. It felt weird, and I don't know, something for me watching these films that are dubbed, especially, like, I know it takes me out. I would rather watch it in its original language with subtitles if possible.
Yeah.
Because it feels so fakey to me.
And I'm with you, Sam. I used to hate the fact of subtitles, but then once I started watching them, I couldn't go back. Because you're right. Like, it just feels really fakey. And, you know, a U.S. distributor will get it and be like, here, we've got to dub this. And they just make up their own crap.
Well, and at least you get the benefit of the original performance, too. Good or bad, at least you know what the original performance was like. And this maybe goes back to the acting category, but yeah, you don't really get a good idea of, like, well, how did Jackie Chan actually do, or how did Bruce Lee actually do, or any of the other characters. You know, when I see it dubbed, I think, this is not great. You know, but maybe you know, with the original, you know, voices and subtitles, it may have been better. I don't know. But at least we would have an idea.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I love that Tom mentioned the snap zoom because that just drives me crazy too. Like, I mean, I'm fine with it if it's used once or twice, but not for almost every other shot. Like, they just zoom right in. You're like, wait, I can't even tell what's going on. I've always been jealous. I always wanted a good piece of glass that I could do that with my camera, to be able to just zap snoom. Like, yeah, I said that right.
Zap snoom.
Yeah. Snap zoom, just like that. And I still don't have that glass. And the longer I don't have it, the less I really don't care to do it.
Never get it.
Yeah, like I never really use it for anything. But I think there's a place for it, but not every other shot. So, yeah.
Yeah. Well, and I felt like as far as, I think it would be incredibly difficult to choreograph and film and edit a fight scene like that. Like any of them. Pick any of them. I think that's incredibly difficult. To make it seem believable and, keep the continuity and, make it dynamic and exciting. I think that would be incredibly difficult. But I felt like that the editing of those scenes for Big Boss was lacking. I felt like there was a lot of chaos going on, and that it didn't necessarily translate to anything that I made much sense of. And so I have to give a lot of credit to Project A, where they had some really elaborate fight scenes going on, and I could pretty much make sense of it throughout. And I felt like the editing was pretty solid on something like that. But I don't know. I don't know how you guys feel about it. And maybe 10 plus years, 12 years in between, the technology and the knowledge improved enough to help with that. But I just felt like Project A, from an editing standpoint, handled the fight scenes much better.
Big Boss loses points just because at some point the director said, okay, now I'm going to put the camera on the ground and you jump over it.
Yeah,
right.
There's so much high flying.
I know. And I'm going to throw a dog over it.
Throwing dogs. That's what I thought.
Flying dogs. And I'm going to have you, and now I read, this may be destroying some of your trivia again, Mike, but I read about this too. I'm going to have you, I saw this when I started the movie. There was on Netflix, there was a shot of the movie, and I'm like, there's a fence or a wall in the background, and I'm like, there's like a person's silhouette through that wall. And so there's one scene where he kicks the guy through the wall, and it makes like a perfect silhouette of the person through the wall. And I had read that Jackie Chan hated that. Bruce Lee was opposed to that. He didn't want that. And somehow the director got that in there. So I don't know. To me, that's a little bit points against the director too.
Yeah, he was.
If the rest of the movie was kind of campy, funny like that, okay, fine.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, just seconds before you would kick somebody through a wall and the whole wall disintegrated, and now all of a sudden you're kicking the next guy through the wall and he makes a perfect outline.
Right, and Bruce Lee was also against the jump kick joust towards the end. He felt that it was not real. It didn't add to the realism, just like he felt the whole cartoon outline of that wall bit. Once it happened, I was like, oh my God, no.
Yeah, I was like, really?
Yeah.
What is that wall made of?
Apparently they had cut out around it and prepare, and they were ready for a fight.
They had him stand there. They drew an outline around him,
and then just kind of perforated a little
cut
bit.
Here. Yeah. Yeah. So to me, that's points against directing for Big Boss.
Right. Well, anyone have anything else they would like to add about the directing of these two fine films? I'll take that as a no. Let's move. Let's go ahead and vote. Tom.
I'm going to go with Project A because looking at Big Boss, there is absolutely nothing to learn as a film student from watching The Big Boss. There is nothing to be gained by watching that movie. It doesn't teach you anything about film, creating film at all. It will only make you a worse editor and a worse director, and you'll probably get in trouble for throwing dogs.
And nowadays, for sure.
Sam.
I'm going to say Big Boss because even if you don't like it, it's actually going to inspire you to do better. So maybe it will be more inspirational to film students. I don't know. I don't really.
I don't know.
Sam just made some shit up.
Sam doesn't like dogs, people. That's
Yeah.
I love dogs. We're going to get a dog.
Are you?
Nice.
Yeah, we're looking into adopting a dog.
Awesome. Gabe.
It's a good idea.
Yeah, Gabe has a dog now. didn't.
I do, and I never thought I would have one, and I love her. She's awesome. So I highly encourage it to everyone.
Gabe.
I'm going to go with Project A, in part because, like I said, the editing and the fight scenes I think is much better, and I just think it's just more solid from kind of a directing and editing standpoint.
Right. Okay. Damn it, I wasn't ready. Because you took my trivia about the whole
Which
outline.
Yeah, you can do
let me
that.
see.
You can still do it.
Oh, no, wait. I had another one. Okay, the original director for The Big Boss was Garce Young. His name starts with an NG, so I'm not sure how to pronounce it. However, he was replaced by Lo Wei a few weeks into production. The original star was also James Tien, who plays Shui Chen, while Bruce Lee was to be a co-star. However, when the directors changed, the stars switched, giving Lee top billing. This may also be part of the reason why Lee does not fight until halfway through the film. There you go.
Interesting.
All right, let's
No,
move on.
he doesn't fight until halfway through because of the guilt trip
The
put on
promise.
him by his uncle
Yes,
and his mother's locket. Whose locket was that?
his mother's locket.
Oh my God, when it broke, I was like, that is the best use of a locket ever in a movie. It was like symbolic. I
Yeah.
mean, like symbolic of the promise he broke, and the locket broke too. Oh my God, it was so deep. Like
Yes.
like a wading pool.
I need more
Exactly.
scotch. I need more scotch. All right, let's move on to our fourth and final round, which is overall.
Through this whole discussion, we've been talking about, like, we don't necessarily watch these movies for the writing. We don't necessarily watch them for the acting. And the directing is subpar. We don't necessarily go to look, it's not a film school for someone. So why do we watch these movies? What is the draw to these movies? Because, obviously someone is interested in these movies. They keep making them. So why do we watch these movies, guys?
I think it's the action, really. I think most people, that's the best part of it. That's the part that if people that, hadn't seen these kind of movies, they say, why do you think people watch them? I think it's the fights, the ability to see that kind of intense physical altercation and know no one is actually going to get hurt. And maybe this even goes back to the blood a little bit. Maybe you don't want it to be too realistic because that would take you out of it because you'd have more empathy. But if it's cartoonish, almost, you can enjoy the violence without any serious repercussions.
That's a really good point, Sam. I don't know. I love Tarantino films, but a lot of times, his violence is very over the top sometimes, but it's also a little more true to life. Especially the whole Inglourious Bastard scene where they are in the bar and they shoot each other up like that. Oh, that just bugs me so much, and I don't know why. Like, I think it's just because of the realism of how quick it all just goes down. And I think I have to agree with you, Sam, from the point of an action fan. I have to say when the gore is not true to life, I find it more fun. Like, I'm still entertained.
Yeah, and one of the things you mentioned Tarantino, and one of the things that I kind of actually enjoyed a little bit about The Big Boss was the kind of retro. Well, it wasn't retro at the time, but it's retro now. The retro cool kind of opening sequence, and it was really pretty bad on one level, but I saw where it inspired other filmmakers in some way. I felt like a lot of times when I was watching The Big Boss, I'm like, I get it. This is a movie that Tarantino watched because I saw a lot of those things in Tarantino movies. Even that snap zoom or zap snoom or whatever we want to call it.
Zapsnoom.
Zapsnoom. Even that appears as kind of an homage or a reference to, those kinds of movies in Tarantino movies.
Oh, of course. It's a 70s film.
And so I felt a lot during a lot of the whole Big Boss thing. I was totally thinking, I can see where this somehow inspired Tarantino. I also I don't know what you guys felt about, I kind of enjoyed some of the old 70s kind of rock music in The Big Boss.
Oh, I'm
too.
so glad you said that.
Yeah,
I'm so glad you said that.
It was horrible.
It's bad, but it's cool.
I liked some of the songs in The Big Boss. I can't help it. I don't know
Some
why.
of them were terrible, but others was like, oh, this is kind of funky. I could deal with this.
I've actually been searching to get it, get like the main theme. I don't know why. I cannot explain it, but I like it.
No.
Yes,
No.
I can't explain it, but I like it.
Campy music they play when they break up the gambling and the first group of thugs comes out. And they're like, I'm not scared of these guys. The music indicates that they are not a threat.
It's gonna be a dance fight.
Yeah,
Dance off.
I was like,
You
I'm
can
waiting
tell by the way I use my walk. I'm a
Oh
woman.
God, the music in The Big Boss was so bad.
But it's so bad, it's good.
Yes, yes.
Some of the, except not all of it, but some of the 70s rock style stuff, I'm like, oh yeah, this is fun. I can see this.
They didn't know
And
what
I can see that how that inspired Tarantino as well.
Well, I
And-
think another thing that inspired Tarantino was the bare ass titties in The Big Boss. Like, they teased you in Project A a little bit, but
Yeah.
Big Boss brought the titties home for the win. That does it for me.
Yep. I had a note that just said boobies. Yep. I was really kind of surprised when they came out. I was expecting it to be like a tease as well. Like, she's going to start undressing, and then there'll be a cut, and then they'll show them waking up in the morning. But no, we actually got to see them. Now, again, Mike, this might ruin some of your trivia, but I had read that.
Oh, go ahead.
Am I going to do it?
No, I don't.
When I
don't
talk
know.
about they were actually prostitutes?
Oh no! Actually, I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah, apparently the maybe not all of them, but at least some of the women in that brothel scene were actually prostitutes.
And that was an
And
actual
the filmmakers
brothel.
paid them more than they would make in a normal day with their clients to be in the movie. So I don't know if that woman who kind of seduced him and then tipped him off to the whole drugs thing at the end, I don't know if she was actually a prostitute that got a part in this movie or if she was a legitimate actress. I don't know. Do you guys know?
I don't, but I like the fact that you can't tell the difference because, I mean, why reinvent the wheel? If you need a hooker to say something on the screen, just pay a hooker. She'll say something on the screen. I mean,
a
sure,
hooker's not just going to do whatever you want just because you pay her, Sam. Believe me, I know.
Sure, but she'll
Oh.
say anything. She
I
might
have
not
to
do
disagree.
anything, but I'm sure she'll, if it's just words, she'll do whatever you pay her for. Again, I don't have any experience. I don't want any experience. Not shooting any movies about hookers anytime soon.
Any hookers out there that want to break in, give me a call.
He's got some great dialogue that he wants you to say.
Yes.
I want to lay down some lines with you.
Oh my.
Here you go. The music sucked.
I thought it was kind of fun.
So did I.
It's like-
I agree
it's
with
like-
Gabe.
70s.
It's so bad.
70s cinema.
No.
It's like it comes around. It's like it's so bad it becomes good again.
No, it was so bad. It was bad.
I totally agree with Gabe.
Do you
on this.
remember? Do you remember the music from Project A at all? I don't remember.
Oh, it was bad.
It wasn't
yeah.
nearly as. It wasn't
that's-
so bad. It wasn't so bad that I stood up out of my chair and went, "What the fuck is going on with this music?" Point.
And at
Point,
the same time,
Project
you
A.
were doing
No,
like
point,
dance
Project
moves
A.
for
Right there. If something makes me stand up and say, "What the fuck is this?" Be it music or blood or
Your
zap snooms,
zaps,
I'm gonna lose a point.
Your disco floor lit up just autonomously when that music started, didn't it?
My disco floor, yeah,
Yeah,
It's
it
a
just
disco-
lit up, and you got up, and
It-
you were like,
it's a disco
It's an-
ceiling, bitch.
"What?"
Yeah, disco. It's a disco ceiling.
Discus. Wow.
The squares light up on the ceiling.
Wow.
Nice, I like it.
Yeah.
You still have the mirror in the bedroom on the ceiling, though, right?
No, the mirror's on the floor. See how I work?
Above the waterbed?
See? You think I go up and I go down. Wait, that doesn't sound...
Tom, we all know you don't go down, so
Oh,
saw that online.
All right. Let's keep it going, guys.
Pull us back from the brink, Keeler. Pull us back from the brink.
I'm the last person that should be pulling you guys back from the brink. All right. Well, for me, overall, is would I watch it again? I would definitely watch Project A again. This is maybe my second or third time watching it. Big Boss, I had seen once before. Still, I mean, I like watching Bruce Lee in his element, but with the, what are we calling, zap snooms, it really did bother me about as much as it bothered Tom. But I did enjoy the music, unlike Tom.
Zap Snoom. Did you say Zap Snoom?
Yeah.
That sounds like alien genitalia.
Zap snooms.
Yeah. So if I use it, don't be mad.
Okay. Nope, I won't. Okay. All right. Does anyone want to add anything else to the overall? Do you have anything else in your notes?
nope.
No? All right. Well, when I said circus, I meant Chinese opera.
Same thing.
Yeah, Jackie Chan studied Chinese opera schools and excelled at acrobatic singing and martial arts. And
Acrobatic singing?
acrobatics, singing,
Oh.
and martial arts.
Oh.
Where he also met Sammo Young, who plays the fat guy, I think is what they keep calling him, and Bao Yun. But Chan also was in 2 Bruce Lee films. The Chinese Connection, which is known over here as Fist of Fury, and then the other one was Enter the Dragon. He's actually just in background. He is one of them that gets punched by Bruce Lee. So when Sam said, could Bruce Lee beat up Jackie Chan, they have it on Silenoid. So there you go.
Apparently.
Apparently. I mean, it's all real, right? I mean, that blood was real.
Right.
Everything's real. So, but for me, I want to just say I really enjoyed watching these films. I really liked watching The Big Boss again, even though I disliked it. I could see a lot of Tarantino-isms in it, you know, how it translated into some of his films, especially like Kill Bill, you know, which
absolutely.
is just an absolute love story for martial arts films. And I really enjoy watching Tarantino's eye in both parts, Kill Bill 1 and 2.
Right.
I agree. I don't usually like this type of film, but when it goes to, I think when you have someone like Tarantino, it elevates all the production values up to a level where, for me, you know, I could watch Kill Bill 1 and 2 over and over and over and over again. Because, and I know in some ways it owes, you know, to these types of films, especially Bruce Lee in general. If he had not been as big as he would have, American culture at least would have not, you know, kung fu movies wouldn't have become as mainstream or as part of a sub cinema genre. I think. So that is interesting, though, what some of these early films, even though if they're a little less polished, the acting's not as good, what they inspired.
Sure.
Perhaps maybe, at least in my own personal opinion, maybe I should give them a little more respect than I do, because they have contributed so greatly to modern cinema, and especially to some modern storytellers, which I do respect a great deal.
Well, I mean, I don't think you need to be hard on yourself, Sam. Everyone has what they favor. You know, like you really enjoy horror movies, and I don't. I like certain ones, but I'm not a horror genre fan where you are. And I mean, I respect that. I love the fact that you really get into that. And when you say you need to watch this film, I will, because you say that it's good. You know, like I respect your opinion about that, because I know you love the genre.
Well, and I appreciate that. I think in some ways even though these weren't my favorite films to watch. In a way, I was glad to see them because, in my mind, cinema is the entire picture. It's not just that one perfectly directed, acted, written movie. It's the student film to Citizen Kane and everything in between.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I'm wondering about these particular martial arts films in relation to some other, probably mostly newer martial arts types films, especially something like along the lines of Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, or Hero, or those types of films. Do you feel like they're in the same genre, or are they different from each other? Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, I get what you're saying. I would say they're in the same genre, but they're, let's face it, they have more of a budget now.
And some of those other films seem much more epic in scope as far as the story and the,
Right. Well, I mean, you're talking about these early kung fu movies, especially in the 70s, and then getting in the 80s, they were able to get a little bit more money, but I mean, they were just essentially pumping them out. Think of the kung fu movies for China, Japan, Taiwan, Korea. Think of those films as our early day westerns. Like they would just pump them out. And that's where I think kung fu movies got so popular with the American culture. It was something different. It wasn't a Western. It was a different type of action. And I mean, people just ate it up. And I think that's why Bruce Lee got so big, and I think that's why Jackie Chan got so big. And because it was something other than a Western.
Right. Well, and I want to relate a quick story about Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. I went and saw it not knowing what to expect.
I'm sorry, Gabe. We're out of time.
Okay. Great. No, that was it. That was my story. I went saw it.
Go ahead.
I went to. We were in Chicago for whatever reason, and I went and saw it. And after the very first fight sequence, which was really surreal, like nobody knew. I don't think anybody really knew what to expect from this, and what the fight sequence was going to be like, and how fantastic and over the top they were going to be. This has never happened in a movie theater before that I have experienced. After that first fight sequence, people literally stood up and applauded. There was a standing ovation after the first fight sequence in just just a random theater in Chicago. It's like, well, the filmmakers are never going to see this, but people were so impressed with how awesome it was that they couldn't help it. Everybody stood up and was clapping. Like I don't know what happened after that because I missed the next 5 minutes. And I just thought it was incredible, and a lot of those newer movies are really incredible in that sense with the martial arts and the wire work and all that kind of thing. And I just didn't know if they really related, if they were inspired by or related to these types of martial arts films that we watched. There was a little bit of that, I guess, in the Jackie Chan movies, and I guess we did have people flying in the air over cameras
and dogs
flying over cameras in The Big Boss. But I didn't know if they inspired these newer, more fantastical, epic type
I think they did.
Or not.
Sure, I think they did. Plus, also, I think audiences' taste grew more sophisticated. So just the regular fight scenes weren't enough. And if you can add that with newer technology, old technology actually, but just a new way to use that old technology to create new sensations, maybe there was just so much saturation that the genre, much like the horror genre, had to reinvent itself in some ways to stay viable.
Well, I feel like the storytelling evolved quite a bit as well.
Right.
Not only did the fight sequences evolve, but the storytelling evolved because you really get caught up in these characters. You really care. When they get into these fights, you really are rooting for somebody.
Yeah.
You really care about who wins,
See, and I disagree. I don't consider Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, and Kill Bill part of the kung fu genre. In that some of the things that we talk about, the bad dialogue and the bad music and the horrible editing, those I think are some of the earmarks of the kung fu movies. That's how you know you're watching a kung fu movie. When you tell someone, "Hey, come over to my house, we'll watch some kung fu movies," you're not going to pop in Kill Bill. You're gonna find like the worst one you can find, and get stoned and watch it. And that's what it. That's what kung fu is.
Are you asking me to come over and watch kung fu movies with you, Tom?
No, I'm sorry. I have someone here with me right now. Sorry. I'll be right there.
All right, I'm still in the other room.
Oh my!
Does
Chris know?
We brought up the fact that it really inspired Tarantino in a lot of his ways. I mean, look at True Romance. The two main characters meet at a was it Sonny Chiba, a Sonny Chiba marathon?
Yep.
I mean, God, I mean, Tarantino's right out of the 70s kung fu movies. Those impacted him a lot. Whether it's accepting the culture of kung fu movies or actually trying to make an homage to one.
Right.
They're grittier.
So maybe in spite of their low production value and poor writing, poor acting, we should give them more credit. Like Sam said, we should give them more credit than we do for inspiring a whole nother generation or generations of filmmakers.
Well, and it's just like I said last month with The Treasure of the Sierra Madre. Like you have to take off your modern day glasses and put on your 1970s glasses. The big round lenses and.
Yeah, I have some of those.
Yeah, and you just you've got to enjoy it for the time that it was made for.
Right.
So, all right. Let's move on to our voting process. We'll start with Gabe.
I think overall, we mentioned rewatchability and that kind of thing. I think I would watch Project A again, possibly. So I would have to give that my vote.
Okay, Sam.
Badges. We don't need no stinking badges. Oh, wait.
That was last week, Sam. Last week.
I know. I just had to get that out there. All right, Big Boss.
Okay, Tom.
Boy, Big Boss points for boobs, loses points for bad music, and I'm getting to a point where bad music is trumps boobs. So we're gonna have to give it to Project A.
Okay.
Wow, bad music trumps boobs.
I love the fact that Sam brought up the boobs part because that was in my notes as well. All right, so let's get confusing for a little bit. Not that we have been this entire show. The international English title for The Big Boss was originally The Big Boss, but in the United States, the English dub version was originally to be released under the title The Chinese Connection. Okay, you guys following? A play on the title of the highly popular film The French Connection. For some reason, the title was changed to Fists of Fury. As a result, to avoid confusion, for some reason, the title was changed. As a result, to avoid confusion with Bruce Lee's following film, The Chinese Connection, known elsewhere in the world as Fists of Fury. The later film titles for its U.S. release became first The Iron Hand and then The Chinese Connection.
What?
So follow that web of, it's got to be called this.
Well, I'm glad we all watched the same movie.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. We could have all been talking about different movies.
All right. While I do the math, let's move on to our recommendations for this month. We'll start with Tom.
Yeah, everybody watch Kung Fu Hustle because it's the best Kung Fu movie of all. And I just want to say, I'm saying this fast because I think everybody wants to recommend Kung Fu Hustle because it is the best Kung Fu movie of all time. And I'm so glad Mike picked me first because if they didn't, I was going to recommend 3 books. So
Thank you, Mike.
You're welcome. I actually have the letter here written by Tom. All right, Gabe.
I was going to recommend Kung Fu Hustle as well because it's fun, but I figured someone else would do that. So I'm gonna go a little kind of off genre here. I watched a movie the other day called Ex Machina, and I don't think I recommended this before.
I don't know.
For
It
sure.
sounds kind of familiar, but go ahead.
Were we talking about it?
I don't know.
We
I've talked to
felt
so
like
many
we
people
talked
about
but I
it.
don't think I recommended it.
Okay.
Did I recommend it?
I don't think so. I don't know.
Because I
don't-
think last episode I recommended the 48 Hour films, the
Yes, you
great
did.
films by the great local filmmakers. Um, but yeah, I saw a movie called Ex Machina the other day, which is basically about a guy who creates an artificially intelligent robot, and he brings in another guy to kind of test it out, do a Turing test on it, and see if it can pass for human. And it's really kind of an interesting film. It's beautifully shot. It's well acted. I'm not sure it's highly original in all respects, but I enjoyed it quite a bit. So if you get a chance to watch Ex Machina, I would definitely recommend it.
All right. Thanks, Gabe. I think the reason it sounds familiar is because I've had so many people tell me to watch it. I think that's why.
Yeah. The other thing is the visual effects are really well done. Because there's this character who's a robot basically, and only parts of her are kind of made to look human. You know, like her face and her arms and certain things are made to look human, but the rest of her looks kind of like a robot. And it's really well done. I mean, you never once think, oh, that looks fake. You know,
Right.
it looks very very good. And so, yeah, it's really a beautifully shot movie. It's really well done. So I definitely think you would enjoy it, Mike.
All right. Sam.
Gabe's absolutely right. We watched Ex Machina a couple weeks ago, and after hearing about it from almost every filmmaker I know that had seen it, how awesome it was, it's definitely a great recommendation, and it's a hell of a movie. Tom, have you seen that?
I'm sorry, which movie was that?
Ex Machina?
I have not seen that. No, I was actually pulling it up on IMDb when you said that. So
I think both you and Mike would really enjoy it. It's a hell of a film. And another great movie that I think you guys would enjoy is something that I saw this weekend in the theater. It has been the #1 movie in America for the last 3 weeks, and quite a huge surprise. I'm talking about Straight Outta Compton, which follows the emergence of the rap group MWA in the mid-'80s from the streets of Compton. What a really amazing film. It's 2 hours and 15 minutes that feels like half an hour. Some people have criticized it, saying that it doesn't go deep enough, and it gives you just kind of a superficial overview. But, you know, for the running time that it has, it does a very effective job of telling a huge story in a short amount of time. It makes you want to find out more. And actually, and for me, that's a sign of a great movie, especially if it's kind of a biopic. If you want to actually research the original events and immerse yourself in that life because of the film, then it's done its job. It's got an amazing soundtrack, very compelling story that reads that it's out of 2015, not necessarily out of the 80s. We're still dealing with a lot of the same racial issues that we saw put under a microscope at that time. Straight Outta Compton, check it out. It's a great film.
All right. I've heard a lot of great things about that as well.
yeah,
I really want to see it. All right. So I guess it's my turn, isn't it? All right. Well, I'm going to bookend Tom's recommendation with a Kung Fu movie with one of my favorite Kung Fu movies. I remember I had a friend of mine that had a Laserdisc player, and I paid him to record the Laserdisc of it just so I could have it because it wasn't out on VHS at the time. And it's titled Who Am I? And it was made in 1998. And it's a Jackie Chan film. What? No oohs, ahs that you're surprised I picked it. A secret agent loses his memory after falling from a crashing helicopter. He is then chased by a number of other agency operatives, but he has no idea why. Once again, it's just Jackie Chan being chased by a bunch of bad guys. But for me, the stunts, like this is close to the apex of Jackie Chan stunts. He's trying out different, more wild things because he's done so much. And there's actually a fight scene where he uses wooden shoes as a weapon. Like they keep getting back onto his feet. He flings them at the other guy, and hits him. It's just so entertaining. There's also an amazing fight scene on top of a roof of a building where Jackie actually almost falls off multiple times, and it's him doing the stunt. So it's very impressive. I would highly recommend Who Am I? And then I also want to say one other thing. There's a great page on YouTube, I guess. Would you say it's a page? And I'm guessing Tom and Gabe and Sam might have heard of it. It's called Every Frame a Painting. And they do these great little videos about dissecting a film or dissecting a director, or dissecting an actor, and what you can learn from them. And they have one called Jackie Chan, How to Do Action Comedy. And I watched it last night before going to bed because I was looking for some stuff for the show, and it's absolutely amazing. It's 9 minutes long, but this guy describes Jackie Chan films to a T, and it's very enjoyable. So I suppose you guys want to know who won, don't you? Let me poke the monkey. We'll find out.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention, please? Your winner by decision is Project A!
All right, let's find out where people can stalk you, where they can look through your window, where they can see Tom's dancing ceiling lights and mirrors on the floor. Let's start with Sam.
You can't find me.
He's
So
at Tom's
don't even
house. We already know this.
You can find me on Facebook if you like. Or better yet, why don't you go and listen through our back episodes on iTunes, and that's the best way to find me.
Hey, that's a good one, Sam. Gabe.
You can look me up on Facebook, or you can find me at onegenomeShort.com.
All right, and Tom.
People can find me at my usual websites, or I'm usually at Extendo Suites on Beaverdale, doing casting calls Tuesday and Wednesday nights from 7 to 2 a.m.
Wait, what? What?
Nice. So that was you.
I help hookers break in to acting.
I see. All
Yes.
right. And hold on, I'm writing this down. What was it? Tuesdays?
What?
Tuesdays?
Tuesdays and Wednesdays,
Tuesdays and Wednesdays.
7 a.m. to 2 a.m.
All right. So, wow. So
Well,
are you there
except
right
today.
now?
That's a long day.
We sleep a lot. What are you going to do?
There's 5 minutes of excitement and 8 hours
he's
of
on for
sleeping.
5 minutes, sleep
Yeah.
for 2 hours.
Yeah. So it's nice. You know, it's a really horrible hotel, but the rates are good. It's in Beaverdale, and for some reason, everybody seems to remember that.
There you go. All right. Well, you can follow me on Facebook and Twitter. You can check out like Sam said, you can check out all of our past episodes on iTunes. Just search Cinesmack. And we would appreciate it, the four of us, if you could leave us a review on iTunes or whatever podcasting service you use. That's how people like you find us. And we always want more people to listen. You can contact us at cinesmack@gmail.com. You can follow us on Twitter and Facebook. Just search what other Cinesmack. And for October, we bring back the albino as Tosh takes a stab at guest hosting. We will also be celebrating the works of Wes Craven. It's A Nightmare on Elm Street taking on Scream. So for Gabe, Tom, Sam, and myself, thanks for listening, and go catch a flick.
Ni hao, asshats. Hey-ya! 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 Hi-ya!
This has been a test of the Southsider Studios podcast system. This was only a test. If this were a true lack of entertainment, your head would explode. Go to iTunes and subscribe to our feed. Just search Southsider Studios.